Milla had always been the colony's steadfast cornerstone. On a vast space station orbiting a distant planet, she thrived as the go-to person for any problem, no matter how small or large. Whether it was repairing malfunctioning airlocks, mediating disputes, or organizing the daily operations of the colony, Milla was indispensable. Her resourcefulness and unwavering dedication earned her the affectionate nickname Commander Vox's Locksmith. One ordinary morning, Milla was summoned to the commander's office, an event that immediately set the colony buzzing with speculation. Commander Vox, a stoic yet caring leader, seldom called anyone into his chambers for personal meetings. Milla stepped in, her posture straight, her expression serious. She noticed Vox pacing by the observation window, his brows furrowed. "Milla," Vox began, turning toward her with a heavy sigh, "you've proven yourself to be the backbone of this colony. But it's time for you to move up the ranks. Your hard work hasn't gone unnoticed." Milla was caught off guard. Though she took pride in her work, she hadn't expected recognition of this magnitude. "Commander, that's an honor," she said earnestly. "I'll do whatever is required of me. You know I never shy away from a challenge." Vox hesitated, his gaze shifting away. Milla sensed his unease. "What's the mission?" she asked, her curiosity piqued. After a long pause, Vox explained. "Earth's Space Research Council has been targeting our colony. They're spreading negative reports about us, accusations of secrecy, exploitation, and withholding valuable discoveries from humanity. Their latest demand is ... unusual." He cleared his throat, visibly uncomfortable. "They want us to send a female representative, someone whose unique alien physiology can be studied. Their argument is that the insights gained will benefit humanity and prove we have nothing to hide. It's invasive, yes, but if we refuse, the political fallout could jeopardize everything we've built here." Milla processed his words, her expression unreadable. Vox continued, "I know it's a lot to ask, Milla, but you're the only person I trust to handle this with the integrity and resilience it requires. I've ensured your safety will be their top priority. No harm will come to you, I'll personally guarantee it." Milla's response was immediate. "I'll do it. If this mission helps secure the colony's future and strengthens our position, then I'll go. Besides, I've always wanted to see Earth." Relief washed over Vox's face. "Thank you, Milla. You don't know how much this means to us." He handed her a stack of documents to sign. "This makes it official, but know this: any complications will fall on me. You'll be under my protection, no matter what." The preparations were swift. Vox communicated with the Council on Earth, emphasizing Milla's importance and the necessity of her safe return. Milla spent her final hours on the colony, tying up loose ends and bidding farewell to her colleagues. When the day of departure arrived, Vox met Milla at the hangar. "Remember," he said, gripping her shoulder firmly, "you represent the best of us. Come back stronger, Milla." "I will, Commander," she promised, boarding the sleek spacecraft waiting to take her to Earth. The journey was long and isolating, yet Milla remained composed. Her resolve was unshakable. She refused to dwell on uncertainties, focusing instead on the opportunity to prove her worth and secure her advancement. Upon landing, Milla was greeted by an entourage of Earth scientists. The stark, bustling research facility contrasted sharply with the quiet order of her space colony. A team of assistants escorted her to a private suite, where she was given time to rest before meeting the lead researcher. The following day, she was introduced to Dr. Michael Weeks, the man tasked with studying her unique physiology. He greeted her with a warm handshake. "Welcome, Milla. My name is Dr. Weeks. I'll be overseeing your examinations. I want to assure you that everything will be conducted transparently and with your comfort in mind." Milla nodded, her confidence unwavering. "Thank you, Dr. Weeks. I trust you'll handle this professionally." Dr. Weeks led her to a pristine, high-tech examination room. Milla lay on a sleek bed as he prepared the first procedure, a simple sedative injection, to monitor her stress responses. When she saw the size of the needle, her eyes widened slightly. "Is that necessary?" she asked, half joking. Dr. Weeks chuckled. "Don't worry. It's a mild sedative. You won't feel anything. But the effects were anything but mild. Milla's alien physiology reacted unpredictably, and within seconds, she drifted into an unconscious state. Dr. Weeks panicked briefly, checking her vitals and ensuring she was stable. He noted her reaction in his records, vowing to adjust future procedures. As he waited for Milla to wake, he couldn't help but marvel at her unique features. Though his observations were entirely clinical, he couldn't deny her striking presence. When Milla finally awoke, she groaned grudgingly. "You said you wouldn't put me to sleep." Dr. Weeks winced. "That wasn't intentional. Your body reacted unexpectedly. I'll make adjustments to ensure it doesn't happen again." Milla sat up, rubbing her temples. "I'll hold you to that." The examinations continued, but something unexpected began to unfold. Milla noticed the gentleness of Dr. Weeks's touch, the care in his voice. Her curiosity shifted from the sterile environment to the man standing before her. "Is this all you do?" she asked teasingly. Poke and prod. Dr. Weeks, caught off guard, stammered. "It's part of the job." Milla smirked, leaning closer. "Then maybe it's time you learned something new." Before he could respond, she pulled him into a kiss. Weeks froze, his mind racing. "Milla, this isn't appropriate, double quotes." But Milla silenced him with another kiss, her confidence disarming. "Stop overthinking," she murmured. "If you want to understand me, come closer." What began as a moment of tension evolved into a connection neither had anticipated. They spent hours exploring an intimacy that blurred the lines between their worlds. Afterward, Milla proposed a bold idea. Why go back to our old lives? Let's leave it all behind. Together, Dr. Weeks stared at her, his mind racing. "Leave it all behind, Milla. You're talking about abandoning your colony, your people. And me, I've spent my life building my career here." Milla's gaze didn't waver. "Michael, think about it. Are you truly happy here? Locked in this sterile lab, surrounded by bureaucracy and expectations? You're a brilliant man, but this place doesn't define you. And me, my colony will move on without me. They've already put their faith in me to make decisions for the greater good." Weeks hesitated, the weight of her words sinking in. "And where would we even go?" "To a place where no one knows us," she replied, her voice steady. "A place where we can start over. My skills, your knowledge, we'd thrive anywhere. And for the first time, we wouldn't be tied down by anyone else's rules." The idea was as terrifying as it was enticing. Dr. Weeks felt the pull of the life Milla envisioned, a life of freedom, unbound by his obligations to the Research Council. He thought of the monotony that had crept into his existence, and the sense of purpose Milla's presence had reignited. "Okay," he said finally, a nervous smile tugging at his lips. "Let's do it." Milla's face lit up. "You won't regret this." They quickly devised a plan. Milla's alien physiology made her presence on Earth too conspicuous, so they needed to disappear without leaving a trace. Weeks used his access to falsify records, marking Milla's departure back to the colony as complete. He also erased traces of her medical examinations and altered his own schedules to suggest he was on an extended field mission. That night, they left the research facility. Weeks had a contact, an old friend from his university days who owed him a favor. The friend owned a private transport company and agreed to smuggle them to a remote location, far from the eyes of both the colony and Earth's authorities. The journey was long and nerve-wracking. They passed through crowded spaceports, keeping their heads low and avoiding attention. Milla marveled at Earth's diversity, the bustling cities, the sprawling landscapes, and the sheer vibrancy of life. It was overwhelming, but exhilarating. Finally, they arrived in a secluded coastal town on the other side of the planet. It was a place untouched by the sprawling technological hubs of Earth's major cities. Here, the air was clean, the ocean vast, and the people friendly but uninquisitive. It was perfect. Milla and Weeks rented a modest cottage overlooking the sea. For the first time in their lives, they experienced what it meant to live without pressure or expectations. Milla, with her adaptable nature and boundless curiosity, quickly integrated into the community, using her skills to fix local equipment and assist with construction projects. Weeks found a new sense of purpose in teaching. He set up a small workshop, sharing his knowledge of science and engineering with the local children. His passion for discovery, once confined to sterile labs, now blossomed in this organic, human environment. Though they were happy, the past wasn't entirely behind them. Commander Vox, now disgraced, had become obsessed with finding Milla. Back on the colony, he refused to accept her disappearance as a simple failure. His demotion had left him bitter, and he spent every waking moment poring over communications logs and records, trying to piece together what had happened. One day, he found a clue. In a garbled message from Earth, he intercepted a transmission that hinted Milla hadn't returned to the colony as reported. Vox knew it was a long shot, but he decided to track her down, seeing it as his chance for redemption. Meanwhile, on Earth, the Research Council was growing suspicious of Dr. Weeks. His sudden absence, coupled with the erased records of Milla's stay, set off alarms. They launched their own investigation, determined to uncover the truth. Milla and Weeks began to notice subtle changes in their quiet life. Strangers appeared in town, asking questions. Surveillance drones occasionally hovered near their home. Their idyllic life felt fragile, as though it could shatter at any moment. "We need to stay ahead of them," Milla said one night, her tone serious. Weeks nodded. "We'll have to move again. Maybe somewhere even more remote. But how long can we keep running?" Milla placed a hand on his shoulder. "As long as it takes, together." They began preparing for another escape, this time more carefully. Milla used her knowledge of colony technology to build a small jammer to disrupt surveillance drones. Weeks, leveraging his scientific expertise, forged new identities for them. But before they could leave, Vox found them. He arrived alone, disguised as a traveler, and approached their cottage under the cover of night. When Milla opened the door and saw him standing there, she froze. "Commander," she said, her voice steady but guarded. "Milla," he replied, his expression unreadable. "I came to bring you back." She crossed her arms. "I'm not going back. My life is here now." Vox's eyes narrowed. "Do you have any idea what your disappearance has done? The colony is in chaos, and me, I've been stripped of everything because of you." "That wasn't my fault," Milla retorted. "You made the decision to send me. I chose what was best for me." Weeks appeared behind her, his presence only adding fuel to Vox's anger. "And this is your solution, running away with an Earth scientist." Milla stepped forward. "This isn't about running away. This is about freedom. I gave everything to the colony, and when I finally saw a chance to live for myself, I took it." Vox clenched his fists, but after a long silence, he sighed. "You're right. I can't force you to come back." "Then leave us," Milla said softly. He nodded, turning to leave. But before he disappeared into the night, he said, "The council won't stop looking for you. Be ready." Milla and Weeks knew their lives would never be completely free from the shadows of their past, but they also knew they wouldn't let those shadows define them. They moved again, this time to a hidden valley deep within the mountains, where they began anew. Their love and partnership grew stronger with each passing day. Together, they found joy not in escaping their old lives, but in building a new one, unbound by the expectations of their worlds. For Milla, it was a life she had always dreamed of, one where she could finally be herself.